All right, good afternoon. It is 4:37. We are late. Welcome to the Criminal Justice Full Committee. We're glad you are here. It's 4:38, Tuesday, February 7th. And Madam Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Representatives Campbell, Carringer, Davis, Doggett, Farmer, Fritz, Glenn, Hardaway, Howell, Johnson, Lambert, Moody, Russell, Sherrill, Vice Chairman Gillespie, Chairman Holt.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you so much. Are there any personal orders? You are recognized, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have the great honor of having my esposa here today. I think that is Spanish for spouse. Maybe. Esposa. Mary Lauren, stand up, let them see who you are. You know. She came up today, Mr. Chairman. She was helping with the Tennessee Alzheimer Association. Their day on the Hill, and she's been up here volunteering and advocating for that on their behalf. So glad to have her with us today.
Good deal. They were the ones with the voice shirts on, right?
I
yes. Believe that's correct.
Yes,
yeah.
I didn't read the shirt, but yes, I know it's purple.
One of them got lost, and they said they lost their voice.
That's right.
Yeah, okay. Any other personal orders? Yes, Representative Johnson.
I'd like to say hello to some students I got to meet with today from various high schools.
Good deal. Welcome. I wanted to announce that Project Return, they are hosting an open house for all of the General Assembly tomorrow between 3:30 and 5 p.m. It's at 109 Lafayette Street, if you can go. They've worked real hard to take people out of the penitentiary and prepare them and get them ready. They've served this past year over 860 individuals in Nashville and Chattanooga, and 75% of the participants to find permanent full-time employment, and they have a recidivism rate of under 15%. So if you're so inclined, you could go down and see their new facilities. All right, I have a correction from last week. I mispronounced our clerk's name. Alexa Angers. How's that? Perfect. Good. And Catherine Wathel. Is that right? Good. Are you doing a retraction? Yes, sir. I am retracting whatever I said last time. I was speaking in tongues then. I am very sorry. We are privileged today. Oh, I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman, in case anybody was curious, it's Halsey. So if anybody had any trouble with that, I just want to make sure everybody knew and put that on the record and clarify. Thank you, Chairman.
I do appreciate that very much. Yeah, see, you started it right there. We're privileged today to, we're going to go out of session and hear from our Attorney General. I'm very, very impressed with him, I'll just tell you, and I think you will be too once you know who he is and what he is. So we'll go out of session, and General, it's up to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Jonathan Cermetti. As of September 1st, I'm the Attorney General of Tennessee, and it is my privilege to serve you. As the Attorney General, I and my office represent all of Tennessee government. That includes each of you, and I've spoken to a number of you, but I want to make sure you're all aware we are available to provide whatever legal advice you're interested in. If you want to talk to us about legislation, I recognize OLS works very hard and does a great job, but if you ever want to talk to the litigators or otherwise hear from us, we are at your disposal. We have about 180 attorneys in the Attorney General's office. Almost all of them are in Nashville. We have a satellite office in Memphis, and we have some transportation-oriented offices in Jackson, Chattanooga, and Knoxville. But most people are here. We've got 350 employees total. Right now, we're handling about 13,000 cases. So it's a high volume. That's everything from your pothole cases where somebody is driving down a road that the state's supposed to maintain. They hit a pothole, their car gets a couple $100s in damage, to contract litigation involving tens, hundreds of millions of dollars, constitutional challenges to state statutes, employment lawsuits. There is a just wide variety. In addition, we handle all of the criminal appeals in the state of Tennessee. So if any of your district attorneys general get a conviction and the person who's convicted appeals, it comes to my office. We have a unit that's dedicated to that, and they handle the case from the moment of conviction up through the termination of the appellate process. In addition, if there's a federal habeas corpus case, which is where somebody challenges their conviction in federal court, we have a separate unit that handles that as well. So we have very narrow original criminal jurisdiction. If there's a judge or a DA that needs to be prosecuted, my office has a role. But otherwise, we're an appellate criminal office. We also have proactive litigation, which includes constitutional litigation, consumer protection, Medicaid fraud, collections work, and we stay very busy with that. Yes, Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry, General. I've been told that they're not picking you up very much.
Oh.
So can you pull that mic a little closer to you?
Certainly.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, is that better, everybody? My apologies. So I want to emphasize the consumer protection work a little bit because we've got a tremendous consumer protection unit in Tennessee, a great team of lawyers working very hard for the state. We received approximately $60 million last year, and we brought in over $300 million for the state. A lot of that was a result of the work of the Consumer Protection Division. We have been one of the leading states in the opioids litigation nationwide. We've been going after manufacturers and distributors of opioids. We worked with the General Assembly to establish the Opioid Abatement Trust Fund, which is where most of the opioid settlement money goes, and it's used exclusively for the purpose of abating the opioid crisis. So there is a committee made up of experts appointed by the speakers and the governor. They determine the best places for that money to go. When all is said and done, we expect to put over $1 billion into that fund over the coming years. We've got a good start on that. Nationally, there's over $50 billion in settlement money coming in. Tennessee is going to receive its fair share of that. I don't recall the exact figure offhand, but it is a substantial amount of money. And the goal is to use that to fight the opioid epidemic. We are also very active in the tech sector. We are partnering with other states in 2 antitrust suits against Google. We're partnering with the federal government and other states in another antitrust suit against Google. We are partnering with other states in an antitrust suit against Meta, and we're investigating, as one of the lead states, the impact of social media on the mental health of children. So that's another significant area of concern. It's something that I personally am very invested in, and I'm really proud of the work of our Consumer Protection Division on that. We have our legislative breakfast coming up Thursday morning at 7:30 in the John Sevier building next door, and I would invite you all to come to that. But the key message I want to convey to you is we're your attorneys. We want to help you. Each one of you is a client of our office, and so to the extent that we are able to provide you with advice, it is our privilege to do that. I'm happy to take your questions, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you so much, General. Do we have time for some brief questions from the committee? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Representative.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your question. Good evening. I'm happy to hear that you don't mind giving an AG opinion to the legislators. What are the guidelines there? We've had problems in the past where anytime the AG didn't want to get engaged, we were offered excuses, no good reasons, but excuses. So share with us your guidelines.
Sure, I'm happy to, sir. And we're authorized to give opinions on matters of state import to state officials. And so there are certain categories of things that we can't issue AG opinions about. If it's a county or a municipal issue, then CTAS and MTAS, which the General Assembly established through the University of Tennessee, are there to provide exactly that kind of advice. If it's an issue that is either in litigation or likely to about to be in litigation, then we're conflicted from giving an opinion because we don't want to preemptively second guess the courts. And it's hard to give objective advice and analysis when we have to be advocating for one side in court. So litigation is typically the big bar to an attorney general opinion. And it has to come from a state official. The request has to come from a state official. Within those confines, we recognize legal advice from the Attorney General's office can help save years of litigation sometimes. If people are just looking for clarity, and we can provide that up front, that's a benefit to the state. And so my office is committed to providing opinions whenever there's not a specific reason prohibiting us from doing so.
All right, and just a couple more, Mr. Chairman. On diversity, what's the diversity of your staff, especially your staff attorneys?
I don't know the specific numbers. I have spoken with various people about more aggressive recruiting efforts. I know we go to several diversity-oriented recruiting fairs, looking for lawyers as part of our efforts to hire great attorneys into the office. I'll get you the numbers on that.
All right, with all due respect for the rest of your agency to appreciate diversity, then it's got to be a push from the top. So I'm looking forward to engaging you more with that. And if you could get those numbers to the chairman so he can share it with the committee, I would appreciate it. On the social media impact on the mental health of children, one of the things that we're going through now in Memphis and Shelby County is the aftermath of the murder of young Tyree Nichols. There have been studies that suggest that because of social media, that for not just Memphians and Shelby Countyans, but all over Tennessee, it's just like being there. All over the nation, it's just like being there. When you're viewing these videos, especially when you view them live and when you view them repetitively, it's looping over and over again. Is the AG engaged in anything that addresses that phenomenon?
Not specifically with respect to those videos. I do want to say, because the Tyree Nichols case is assuming that General Mulroy gets convictions and there are appeals, that would come to my office. So I'm trying to be careful not to say anything that could potentially hurt the prosecution in the case. But with respect to the broader issue of violence in social media, I think that's related to what we're looking at, but I think there are broader issues that are driving the current inquiries.
All right, my last one. Do you have an opinion on the U.S. Civil Rights Division coming into situations such as the Memphis-Shelby County problem and rendering their services, and have you worked with them in the past?
So I started my legal career as a federal prosecutor with the Civil Rights Division. I came to Tennessee because they kept sending me to Memphis, and eventually I stuck. I think there are situations where it is important for the federal government to come in. It's a separation of powers issue, just like it's important for the states to push back against federal overreach. If you have localized issues where people's constitutional rights are being violated, there are times when the federal government's the appropriate actor to come in. And it's all in service of avoiding the concentration of powers. And we've got a system that's set up beautifully to ensure that power is not concentrated anywhere. So I think there are circumstances, and I did it for 6 years, where it's appropriate for the federal government to come in and ensure that there's not an undue concentration of power or any sort of corruption that's infringing on the constitutional rights of any Americans.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I would just say he appears to be well-read, well-bred, and he's either my new best friend or my best new friend.
Okay, briefly, next question, Representative Towns.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. General, thank you for being here with us. A couple things, sir. The lawyers that you have in Memphis, how many do we have there?
We only have 4 so far. I'm
Okay.
definitely interested in expanding that number.
Okay, where's the office located?
1 Commerce Square, I believe.
Okay. All right, so if we need access there, we can just contact your office here, or we contact someone there.
You can contact our office here, but they're not inaccessible. It's just, it's not really designed for public interface. They're tucked
Right.
away in a state office building.
Right.
But we got 2 former judges, Jim Newsom and David Rudolph there, and a couple exceptionally good young lawyers as well.
Okay. Second thing is this, as it relates to consumer protection, do you look at food and some of the ill things that's happening with our food?
So we do. I don't want to talk about any investigations we have underway that aren't public yet.
Okay.
But there are definitely food issues that we're looking at.
And if not, I would encourage that we do look at them, because there's a lot of stuff going on right now with our food that's not good. And we need somebody every now and then to peek in and make sure that they do what they're supposed to do and make us whole as a community. So I'd like to be kept apprised as much as I possibly can about the food. Really concerned about some of that.
There's something we're working on in particular that we'll get you the information as soon as we can about that.
I appreciate it. Mr. Chairman, thank you. Thank you, General.
Yes, I'd like to let the general go by 5 o'clock. So next, Leader Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I won't take up much time then. General, just want to say good to see you, my friend. We've been friends for several years, and I'm just tickled to see you in the position you're in. You've got a fantastic staff. They do a wonderful job, and I have noticed a significant increase in communication really between your office and the legislature over the last several months. We all appreciate that. Nothing against your predecessors. They did a great job too, but it has been noted that y'all have made a real effort to reach out, to play a part in this process. It is sometimes a difficult process, the legislative process, but I appreciate all of the activity that y'all have had in that, and quite frankly, the leadership you've shown in making sure that you really continue to grow the office over there with some good quality personnel. And again, love the team you've got now. I'm obviously a fan, but thanks for the work you're doing.
Thank you, Leader.
Chairman Doggett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I want to say thank you so much for coming today and being with us. Leader Lambert looked over my notes. He said everything that I had planned on saying, but anyway, I do thank you, and really appreciate the time that you and your staff take with us when we call or have questions or inquiries. The explanation and the education that you provide us on the issues is extremely helpful and beneficial to us. And so, again, I'm very excited that you're in the position that you're in and the staff that you have in place. It's look forward to working with you, and very appreciative of all that you do for us. So thank you for being here.
Thank you. It's a privilege.
And General, I personally want to thank you for your perseverance and your dedication in holding the federal government accountable to constitutional principle and the protection of unalienable rights of Tennessee people. It means a great deal to me, warms my heart, and I want to thank you personally. I want to thank you publicly as well. And so we look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you so much. Or I'm sorry. Where'd she go? Oh, she's hiding behind towns. I'm sorry. Representative Davis. You're rec.
Thank you so much, General. I just wanted to ask if there's a way that you will keep us abreast of those antitrust lawsuits with regard to Meta and Google. Are you going to keep us involved and informed of those, or how will that work? I know you have like 2 minutes.
Yeah, we absolutely can. I appreciate the interest. Most people don't want to hear too much about antitrust stuff, but I mean these are like the big antitrust cases going on right now, and we'll be glad to keep you informed about that. And I can probably provide way more information than anybody wants about those. They're all being actively litigated. The complaints are out there, and we'll give you updates as they arise. We got trials coming up later this year, so we should have something definitive pretty soon.
All right. Thank you so much, General. We're going to go back in session. I appreciate
Thank
that.
you, Mr. Chairman.
We're back in session. If you'll look at item 4 on your calendar, that's House Bill 9. That has been rolled for 1 week at the request of the sponsor. So we're back on the calendar to House Bill, or the first item on the calendar. It's House Bill 3 by Chairman Sapicki. You have a motion and a second. Chairman?
Chairman, how you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
It's great to see you again. Ladies and gentlemen, House Bill 3 is a bill that was brought to me by my locals. It provides a little bit of extra protection. We already provide an enhancement to those first responders that are assaulted when they're trying to do their work and trying to help people. The problem is the rise of healthcare providers' assaults is climbing astronomically. And so trying to put a little bit more teeth into don't assault the people that are trying to help you. This is where House Bill 3 came from. In the subcommittee, we had some testimony from some of my constituents that brought me this bill and wanted us to pass this to provide better security for those that are trying to help people in need in emergency rooms and doctors' offices, that if you assault them, the district attorney can ask for a higher enhancement on the crime. And that's what the bill does, Mr. Chairman. I know you're not a particular fan of these bills, but I'm asking for the leniency of the committee.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. I had a plan and have a plan to roll this bill to an enhancement calendar, and we'll hear them all at once. I expect there's several more coming down the pike. If I could entertain a motion to that effect.
Can I ask a question, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Is that in 2023?
It is.
Thank you, sir.
Is there a second? Second. Okay, we're going to roll this bill to an enhancement calendar that we'll pick up at a later date.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
That gavel was for that. This gavel was for where we rolled House Bill 9, all right? All right, we are now down to item number 2 on today's calendar. It's House Bill 77 by Leader Lambert. Leader Lambert, you're recognized.
Thank you,
Motion
Mr.
and a second. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. It literally does, as it says on the page. I mean, it just, the GPS units that are already on ignition interlock devices, it puts rules in place and really guidelines on this. So they can't be used to track anybody. They can't be used for anything other than what they're intended for. When somebody does a breathalyzer sample on that, it'll geotag where that was for purposes of prosecution and everything else. That's it. And so it just updates that section of the code.
Okay, any questions for the leader on this bill? Seeing none, we're going to vote. We're voting on House Bill 77. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it. And Leader, that bill rolls to calendar and rules.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
We're now on number 3 on the calendar. It's House Bill 144, also by Leader Lambert. You're recognized. Motion and a second.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In this bill, I believe there's an amendment that has a technical change on it that's coded 3437.
I believe that's correct. Let me check the numbers on mine. I got it here somewhere. Tell me the numbers again.
Should be coded 3437, Mr. Chairman.
That's what I have as well. And we did have a motion on the amendment. Yes. All right. Do you want us to put the amendment on the bill first? You explain it?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind.
Okay. We're going to put the amendment 3437 on House Bill 144. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment's on the bill. Now I can explain.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate our crack legal staff for finding a technical issue in there that we changed, and thank you for that. That's what the amendment did. Literally just a clerical issue that needed to be for consistency. What the bill does is anyone arrested or convicted for DUI third offense would have to have a transdermal monitoring unit for at least 90 days, and it reduces the amount of time that someone would have to serve before they could go off for inpatient treatment for those that wish to go to inpatient treatment. They're still going to serve their jail time, still going to serve their treatment time. It just matches the two up better. Mr. Chairman, I stand ready for questions.
All right, you've heard the bill as amended. Are there any questions from the committee on House Bill 177 or 144? I'm sorry. I'm a little dyslexic today. I'm going to join an organization called DAM. It's Mothers Against Dyslexia. I'm sorry. So, all right, a question. Yes, sir. Representative Hardaway, you recognize.
Thank you, Chairman. to the sponsor, can those times for the punishment and the actual medical substance abuse help, can those be carried on concurrently and interchange, or does it have to be one block of this and one block of that?
You're recognized. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the way this works is if someone gets a DUI second offense, 45 days is the mandatory minimum for that. And most folks, that's what they receive if convicted of a DUI second offense. Right now, the statute, and this was something I was involved in years ago, says they have to serve 25 days of jail time before they can furlough for any treatment. Well, it doesn't match up with really the length of treatment programs. Most of these treatment programs are 28 days. So ideally what you'd want is 17 days of service so that the remainder of their 45 days can be in inpatient treatment. So what we were seeing in practice is, well, while it sounded nice to put the number at 25, what we're seeing is people are turning down treatment because it keeps them in for about another week. And so by matching that up with 17 instead of 25, those that wish to take advantage of inpatient treatment, they can do that during their mandatory minimum time, and it gives at least a little bit of an incentive for them to go ahead and do that. I will say that those that go to inpatient treatment and take advantage of these programs have a significant reduced recidivism rate. It works. I mean, when they do 28 days of inpatient treatment and then the follow-up care as part of their probation on that, it is a recipe for success that these folks will not come back, or at least a smaller number of them will come back on a DUI third, fourth, or vehicular homicide. I mean, if we don't get them the help they need and they don't take advantage of it, then they will continue to be very dangerous.
Any other questions from committee? Questions been called on the bill. We're on House Bill 144 as amended. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it. This bill passes on to finance, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
That concludes the calendar. Is there any other business? Well, a motion to adjourn has been made and granted. We're adjourned.